for this?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Larry Fury for WCTV, and welcome to a very, very important show, one we do every year, and we've been doing it for the last 25 years. We're going to be previewing the 62nd Oscar F. Thompson Memorial, Bergen County. We call it the Jamboree. Joining me, as he has for 25 years, is John Francola. And John, here we are again. We're going to have Paul Pugliese and Ed Crowmer. They're going to preview the seating of the teams for the Jamboree, which will start tomorrow, and away we go.
Larry, the next 2 or 3 weeks, we love it. We don't see our wives. We get out to the basketball game. We see these wonderful kids playing, and it's going to be a tremendous year.
The road to the Rotman starts basically tomorrow around 11 o'clock when the teams have their first round, and it culminates with the championship at the FDU in, I think, 4 weeks from tonight on a Friday night. And we're going to see some great basketball. We're going to visit with some great friends that we haven't seen, some we haven't seen all year, and hopefully we make some history as we had over the years.
Larry, if we have a final like we had last year, this year,
yeah. We'll be talking about that.
But I'm not going to run off in the car this time.
No, not this year. You got to stay close.
I'm going to stay home.
We're going to have the schedule now is to have Paul Pugliese and Ed Crowmer go over the teams that were seeded, and when they're finished previewing it, we're going to have 2 coaches come with their players. We're going to have Billy Armstrong, and we're going to have John Michael Santulli, one from Bergen Catholic, one from Westwood. So let's say hello to our guests, old friends of ours, Paul Pugliese, Ed Crowmer, the co-chairman of the Jamboree. If I'm not mistaken, this year was the most you've had seating, 25 teams?
It ties us for the most. Yes,
it does, huh?
Yeah, a few years ago we also had 25.
And how many schools apply? Well, explain the procedure again so everybody knows watching this.
Well, in Bergen County there's 54 high schools that play boys basketball. We had 32 apply this year, which is usually about how many we have apply. The criteria basically comes down to teams that have 650 winning percentage, 8-4, 10-5 around this time, something like that, are automatic qualifiers. And then we have our committee who goes and sees all the games. We're all over. There's 6 of us, mention them in a minute, and we go all over Bergen County to see the games. And with the eye test and all the statistics that we can gather, special thanks to Greg Matura of the Record, who helps us with a lot of our statistics. We get together on, this year was last Wednesday night, and we crunch all the numbers and argue out the teams that we think should qualify as at-large bids to the tournament. And this year we ended up with 25 of the 32 applicants. And before I forget, I want to shout out to our committee members who do a great job. Obviously, my fabulous co-chairman, Ed Crowmer. We have Leon Steinberg, John Ryan, Rookie Corcoran, and Chris Annabelle. We also have a couple other folks that do great work for us. Pete DeFranco signs our officials. Jim McConville provides us with an infinite amount of stats on top of the infinite amount of stats that we already have. And of course, we're under the umbrella of the Bergen County Coaches Association. Last year and this year's president is Roger Pelletier of MAWA. And we got essentially the same system that has been in place since the first tournament that was held in 1951.
It's amazing. Now, Ed, I've always said you might be able to get the the 25 teams that you have out of 32 or 23. But the hard part is seeding them, correct? I mean, the first one or two, but as you get down, how difficult does that become? And talk about how you can't, teams in the same division can't play, so you have to change that seeding, because people don't understand how hard that could be.
Yeah, let me just take Paul's point about 54 high schools just a little bit further before I get into that question. Out of the 54 high schools, Paul runs a database for us throughout the course of the season. So starting December 15th, we share with him who we've seen. And just so that people have an idea, we say we go to games, but of the 54 teams in Bergen County this year, members of the committee saw 50 of those 54 teams. So we pretty much blanketed everyone, and in multiple cases, we've seen those teams multiple times. So we really feel like we do our homework, and I think that's something that the coaches truly appreciate, is the fact that they see us and they know that we're out trying to do our best for them when Wednesday night happens. So as you said, we seeded 25 teams the other night. I believe 18 of them were 650s qualifiers.
Yeah, 18 or 19 were automatic qualifiers.
And as
Is that a normal number, or is it higher?
No, it's about right. It's
about you get that about, yeah.
And so then we just, it's like a puzzle. We put in the teams, and basically the way we did it this past week was we took the top 4, 5, 6 seeds and then tried to work our way in reverse. And once we get the board set, as you said, one of the things that we do effort to do is not to allow any team to match up against a school that they've already played from their division or even in a holiday tournament. So what that does necessitate, when we're finished putting the board up, we're not quite finished, because we might have to flip-flop a school one place or two places just to ensure that they do not play that team that they've played in
Even in a holiday tournament like Coaches Against Cancer, if you have a schools that will never see themselves, but they can't play in the Bergen County first round.
Well, you bring up a great point, and we actually just tossed this around the other night. We managed to do that this year. But it is something I think we're going to give a little thought to moving forward, and that's the idea that maybe just sticking within the division might make it a little bit easier for us when it comes.
Yeah, because I was watching St. Joe's had a tournament, and all of a sudden they were playing additional games in that tournament, almost like filling games, and that would destroy the whole system for you. I mean, really.
Well, it's this year it took us an extra hour to sort it out, because there are a lot of tournaments like Coaches versus Cancer, and more so than there was in the past. So a lot of the teams are playing each other more than we had in the past, and that makes it real difficult. And we're talking about the first 2 rounds, and basically it comes down to the first game you play in the tournament, whether it's the first round or for those teams that have a bye, the second round. We try to avoid them playing somebody they've played before. And as Ed mentioned, and some of the other sports in the Bergen County Coach Association, they maybe restrict it to the first round, and they don't worry about the second round or the bye teams, which is easier. It's harder to, when you're under that restriction, to try not to play, because a lot of these teams play each other.
That's got to be a tremendous amount of work.
It took us extra hours.
And homework to find out who's playing. I mean, you got to be on top of it. And then if they play 2 or 3 games, you play Tuesday, you play Wednesday, play Thursday. You don't know who you have to really be on top of it. And I mean, the amount of work you have to do following it and try to find it in the paper or on the internet, it's got to be a lot of work. I can see where your paperwork keeps growing.
Well, again, the credit really does go to Paul, who, as he mentioned, worked with Greg Matura to just compile this information week in and week out. And once we get to that meeting, we believe that we have a pretty good snapshot of the teams that have applied, who their big wins are, who maybe their tough losses were, and do our best to put them in the right slot.
That's a tremendous amount of work, and the only way you're going to do that is to do your homework and detail make sure everything is detailed. And that takes a lot of effort, and you guys should be complimented that. I just want the people to know, you don't show up and play, this team is playing that team. There's hours and hours and hours of work that go into it.
No flipping of a coin.
No, none of that. No, it is a lot of work. It's just, a lot of times people just show up and they see the game. They have no idea what's going on behind it. And like you said, this started December 15th, the first game, and it probably went to Tuesday night. You were probably looking at schools.
Most definitely.
You're welcome.
Well, just to put a little period onto this paragraph, I did not mention it, and I am remiss for not mentioning. Chris Gaskin is of Ridgefield Park, is our liaison to the Bergen County Coach Association. He's doing a fabulous job at Ridgefield Park, and a little plug for St. Francis of Loretto. He's a St. Francis guy, as is John Ryan and myself. We have the toughest part, at least for me, is when we get to the 32 teams, is deciding on which teams don't make the tournament. Because teams can complain that are in the tournament about their seed or whatever, but at least they're in the tournament, they get a chance to do something about it. But we do have to make that hard decision about teams that don't make the tournament. And one of the things that we heard today when we were working at over at my house, one of the coaches that didn't make the tournament spoke to one of our committee members and talked about how he appreciated how hard we work, because he said every time he went to a game, somebody from the committee was at the game. And it's a labor of love. We're just basketball junkies, and we go. And once we get to the beginning of December, even before the season starts, our texts and emails we're just in constant contact with each other every day. I probably every day since December 1st. I probably communicated with every member of the committee. So
and it'll probably continue right to the finals, and then there'll be communication, getting ready for next year. It's a never-ending saga of doing this, and it is a labor of love.
Yeah. And,
okay, I just wanted the people there who are watching the show to understand the amount of work that goes into preparing this tournament. That's why it's one of the best tournaments that you have. It's the work that the committee puts into it. So now you and Ed will now have the show. You can start with the seating with number 25, or what you were.
Talk 25. 25.
What did I say? Did I say 25?
25.
25. Go ahead, Ed. Ed, you want to start?
Oh no, this is all Paul's show. We did our homework this afternoon, and Paul has the he has the info. So I'll turn it over to him, and I'll throw
and
something out every once in a while.
I'd like to say one more thing that we didn't say the last few times that we've been on, and that's that another thing that drives us to work as hard as we do is the people who started this tournament, like the great Mickey Cochran. They and of course Mr. Jamboree man Eddie Strohmeyer, the late Eddie Strohmeyer, the late Mickey Cochran. These guys did such a great job of setting this tournament up and putting it into effect, and we kind of just feel honored to be in a position to keep it going the way they started it. So
amen to that, because I tell my good friend Jerry Emerson every time I see him that we just hope not to screw it up, because they definitely set the table for us.
A lot of pressure.
You guys do a great job.
Some pressure.
A lot of pressure.
All right. Paul?
Okay, so
Show's
if we're
yours.
ready, we'll go. We'll start with number 25. Again, we had 25 teams into the tournament. And after our 5.5-hour seating meeting, this is the way it worked out. At number 25 are the Lyndhurst Golden Bears, who are 8-4 overall, 4-2. By the way, when we give our statistics and our win-loss record statistics, they are as of our meeting Wednesday night. We don't have, we didn't update with last night's scores. So the Golden Bears of Lyndhurst, first time they've been in about 6 years. I think 2012 was the last time that they were in. Coached by Tom McGuire, who was at Queen of Peace the last few years, and unfortunately Queen of Peace closed. They're out of the NJIC Liberty Division. They're in third place. They've been, they've been up and down a little bit lately, but they're a quick team. They play a full court game. They have a couple of highlight players: Kyle Logan, John Rodriguez, Adrian Lopez, who can shoot the ball and they can run the floor pretty well. They are going to play Demarest, the number 8 seed, at 1:45 at Bergen Field. The number 25 team is the Lyndhurst Golden Bears.
And they come in off of a win last night against Leonia, so hopefully they can carry that success on into the weekend.
In at number 24, and again, as Larry and John alluded to, and of course Ed explained pretty well, a lot of times when we see the teams, they have to get moved around a little bit because we have to avoid the conflicts. So like our viewers to keep that in mind. The Thunderbirds of Mawa, led by one of my former players and a great young man, Michael Brannick. They are 8-6, and they are 3-2 in the Big North Patriot Division. They actually had a big win last night over Westwood. They are very, very deliberate on offense, as is Westwood, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They move the ball very well. They make very few mistakes. They make a lot of passes. They force you to play defense for a long time. And, eventually when they wear you down, they look to get the ball to the basket. They are very tough and physical on the other side of the ball. They get in your face and play real tough defense. And again, playing in the Big North and playing a tough schedule that they play, they are really tournament tough. They will play Dwight Englewood School, the number 9 seed, at 1 o'clock at Indian Hills. They are also, by the way, 3-3 versus teams that are in the Jamboree. Number 23, the Elmwood Park Crusaders of the NJIC Colonial Division. They are 8-4 overall. Again, that 8-4 is meets the 650 criteria. They are 4-4 and in third place in that Colonial Division. Coming into the selection night, they were hot. They had won 7 of 8 games, but then the last couple of games they dropped. So they're looking to right the ship here. They are very quick. Again, they look to run and they look to penetrate. Each one of their players will take the ball off the dribble and look to penetrate. You got to be on your toes when you're playing defense. Kevin Toohey is the coach. And they will play Dwight Morrow, the number 10 seed, at 10:30 at Bergen Field. This is going to be a really interesting game because it's going to be, I think, a real high-speed game. I think there's going to be a lot of shots up there, a lot of running, and a lot of athletic and acrobatic plays. That's a 10:30 game at Bergen Field, which is the first game of our tournament. Starts our tournament off tomorrow evening. Okay, Number 22 is the Rutherford Bulldogs, led by Nick DeBarry, who has the, pleasure. I had the opportunity to do this, but he has the opportunity to coach his son, Jack, on the team. They have a bunch of good players, Dimitri Burrows, Richie Marquez, and Balin Jones. They're 9-4, 5-3 overall in the NJIC Colonial. They're in second place behind Lodi. One of the great long-time coaches of Bergen County is on his bench, Tommy Potter, who's a wonderful guy and a great basketball instructor. They have on the team, I mentioned Braylon Jones. His dad, Bobby Jones, was a baseball pitcher. Got to the
played in the
Also
major
leagues.
a golfer, Bobby.
Not the same one. Bobby Jones. Not the. You want to talk about Bobby Jones? You got a couple extra hours? I'll talk about Bobby Jones.
You're talking to a golf coach.
I know. That's as close as I come to
And
playing
Jones transferred to Rutherford from Northern Highlands. This is a tough division in the NJIC, one of the tougher divisions. All the teams give you a hard time night in and night out. Coming into the selection, Rutherford had won 4 out of 5 games, and they will play Westwood, the number 11 seed, 12:45 tomorrow at Bergen Catholic. Next on the list, who hasn't been in the tournament in a couple of years, but I'm sure is going to represent well, are the Rams of Lodi. And they are led by Rob Terhune, who played there for Tony Camilio. Tony Camilio, for those of you who don't know that name, go down to Lodi. It's on their gym. the Tony Camilio gym. And Tony Camilio was a great member of this committee for many, many, many years. And Rob played at Lodi. As you will see as we go through the list, a lot of these guys came back to their alma maters to coach. They are in first place in that Colonial Division. They won 8 in a row, and they have a 1,000-point scorer, Carlos Pepin, who's a 6'5", and he is a very, very exciting player. If you get a chance to come out and see Lodi play, he's worth the price of admission. And their team is very complimentary for Pippin. He's not the only star of the show. He's got a bunch of guys who can also play, move the ball, get him the ball, shoot the ball. They are 3-1 versus Jamboree teams, and they will play. Who do they play? They will play at Indian Hills at 11 o'clock, and they're playing number 12 Ramsey. I'm sorry, I'm reading my own handwriting. They play number 12 Ramsey at 11 o'clock at Indian Hills tomorrow. That was the Lodi Rams. Number 20, the New Milford Knights. Out of the NJIC Liberty Division. They're in second place behind Dwight Englewood, who's their only loss. They are 10-1 and 6-1. And Ed and I had the pleasure of watching them play the other night, and wow, they looked really, really good. They've got some big boys, Ryan Picnic and Dan Ruiz, 6'5", 6'4". Matt McElroy's a real tough 6'2" player. They're experienced, they're senior leaders. They tough, strong. McElroy scored 1,000 on your 1,000-point list. He's
That's
a
right.
1,000-point scorer. They have an excellent coaching staff led by Ken Cavanaugh, his assistant Joe Albanese. I know real well. They do a great job. They're very class act the way they run their show. When we saw them the other night, they played a real tough zone defense, and it was we saw them play Lyndhurst, who's in the tournament, and it was very tough for Lyndhurst to get off a shot.
Yeah, they won by 30 points, I believe.
And Lyndhurst had a tough time
It was
at
a
New Milford.
good night for New Milford.
Yeah,
Yes.
they shot the ball well. They ran well from their zone. They ran a nice fast break out of their zone. And their bigs were so tough inside that Lyndhurst really found it difficult to get any good shots. New Milford Knights will play St. Mary's, number 13, tomorrow at 2:30 at Bergen Catholic.
And one of the things, we didn't mention it about Rutherford, but Rutherford, New Milford, a couple of other clubs, as we mentioned as we go along, had great football success in the fall. And some of those kids, especially in the smaller schools, they just make the transition from football to basketball. And it's obvious to see that they're just great athletes. And I think this is the case with the McElroy kid, who I think has gotten a couple of offers and to go play football in college. So.
It's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting matchup too. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a good team.
Because as we mentioned, New Milford has some good bigs, 6'5", 6'4", strong inside. And when they play St. Mary, they're running into one of the better bigs in the county, Mark Datica, who's 6'7", 6'8". So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow.
You got games here that I call them pearl games, like New Milford here against St. Mary. That's a nice game that you would like to see, see how they play that out. There's a lot of them here.
Game
Yeah.
at Bergen.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll be
Well,
there for that
that's
one.
certainly what we hope for in that first round.
Yeah.
We're looking for some competitive games that keep people.
That should be a 2 or 3 point game.
That should be a good
We're
game.
going to hold you to that, John.
My first prediction.
See them all 2-3 points.
Yeah. We had that more than 1 year where there was a lot of close games. Okay, number 19 is the Ridgefield Park Scarlets, led by the aforementioned Chris Gaskin, who's my St. Francis buddy, except I got him by about 25 years, I think. But Chris does a wonderful job down there. They're in the Big North American. They are 9-5. They won 9 of 11 coming into the selection show. They have wins over, I think, Westwood and, is that right?
You caught me, Coach.
I caught you, Westwood and Dwight Morrow. They feature a 6'8" Lane, another big boy in the middle. But we saw them the other night against Garfield, and they have guys that can shoot the three. So you got a 6'8" guy inside, And then you got guys on the outside that can shoot the three. And the guys on the outside that can shoot the three got some size. There's Jonas Espinel, who I think is a football player too, right?
You said that, yeah.
And
Dave
you know,
Felice, and
Yeah.
Martinez, and Willoughby. Willoughby is not the Willoughby from
no,
Englewood.
not the Englewood
Different
Willoughby,
Willoughby.
Alex Willoughby.
Yes, it is.
But they've got some guys that could shoot the ball. So if you want to collapse on the big guy, then you're going to have to close out real hard to get to their shooters. They can fill it up. They are quick and strong on defense, and they are smart and very well coached by Chris Gaskin. So they're likely to be a hard out in the tournament. They will play Tenafly, number 14, at Bergen Field tomorrow at noon.
They have losses to both Englewood and
They
and
lost to
Westwood. So
Those
Yeah.
Okay.
those are their
Those were their two tough losses.
Tough losses,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. That's why Ed's here to keep me.
I just don't want to anger Coach Santulli or Coach Jones.
Oh yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, they're right.
That's what
You're
we're
right.
trying to
Right.
do.
Well,
I would have been the third person to interfere at that point.
my favorite quote of all time is by one of my favorite people of all time, Albert Einstein, who says, "Only death prevents man from making blunders." Think about that one for a second, too. Okay, number 18 is the Bergen Tech Knights, who made their first appearance in the tournament last year and showed very well. They are 8-6 and 2-3 overall. They're in the Big North Liberty, which includes the Big North Liberty is a lot of good, real good Passaic County teams. They've got Passaic Tech, they got Eastside, they got Kennedy they have to play. They beat Dwight Englewood 68-51. They beat Eastside in overtime 82-81. Bergen Tech can play. They got Mark Martinez and Andrew Yoon, who had some experience from last year, especially Yoon had a great tournament last year. Mark Martinez had 21 points last night. They are led by Coach Michael Mangili, who's got the Bergen Tech headed in the right direction his second year in a row now that they've been in the tournament after having not been in the tournament before. They will play Pascack Valley at Indian Hills at 2:45 tomorrow. And that's going to be a real interesting game because I think it's going to be a real contrast of styles. You're going to have a team that wants to get up and down a little bit, and then you're going to have a real strong, tough defending Pascack Valley team. Okay, number 17, the Bogota Bucks, led by the incomparable Jay Mahoney, who is, how many wins does Jay have now? He's moving up the list. He's going to be, there's a good chance that Jay will retire as the winningest coach in Bergen County. I know he was third, close to Chris Donfield, who's second, and then, of course, Marty Rivard is the number one winningest coach in Bergen County. The Buccaneers are 10-2, 7-1 in the NJIC Patriot Division. They're in second place behind Cresskill. We talked earlier before the show that it's the 25th anniversary of one of the great upsets in Bergen County history. Bogota being one of the few teams that has, out of Group 1, out of small school, that has won the tournament. And Jay was at the helm in both cases. They also lost to Cresskill, and they also lost to Tenafly in a great game. They do have a win over Westwood, am I right? Coach Santulli's not going to get mad at me. They beat Westwood in overtime.
In overtime in
so
the
that
Garfield
Coach
tournament.
Santulli won't get mad. And if you want to see a fabulous player, Deeker Pedrino from Bogota, he just has all of the tools. He's a 6'2" guard, and he's got a smooth stroke, but he can also put it on the floor with both hands, go to the basket. But Buccaneers will always shoot the threes. You can expect anything under the sun out of Coach Mahoney, any type of defense you could imagine. He's just a genius when it comes to that. They are size-wise and athletic-wise comparable to almost any team in the county. They have big guys who can run and who can shoot, and extremely athletic. So they're going to be a very interesting team to watch, and they're going to be a real hard out. And that's going to be the 16-17 game tomorrow against Riverdale at 11 o'clock at Bergen. It's the first game at Bergen Catholic tomorrow. And that should be a whole lot of fun because Riverdale, who's up next, number 16, the Golden Hawks, led by Ron Van Saters, who's got a real heritage in Bergen County sports. They play a tough, physical, solid, move the ball type of game, which contrasts the Bogota game where they want Bogota team that wants to run and shoot the three. So that should be a really interesting game. They're led by Jack Capasso, 6'1" senior, and David Estevez, 5'9" senior. And Van Saters' teams traditionally make very few mistakes. They, again, solid with the ball, not real flashy, not a whole lot of rock and roll, just basic, solid, fundamental, very, very focused basketball. And every possession that they have, they make you work. They value every possession. And they've beaten Englewood and St. Mary's. They're 3-5 against Jamboree teams. And again, that's the 16-17 game tomorrow versus Bogota, 11 o'clock at Bergen Catholic.
And just got to give another plug for David Estevez, who comes off of another championship football season, walks off the football the football field at MetLife, and a week later onto the basketball court, and goes from throwing football touchdowns to scoring 23. I think he had in his first night out. He's just a marvelous athlete to watch.
We've seen him 4 years on the football field.
Yeah,
Westwood doesn't want to see him anymore.
I suspect that would be the case.
And a lot of other teams don't want to see him anymore.
Okay, so that gets us to number 15, the Pascack Valley Indians, who are 8-6 in the Big North National. And this is a tough conference. You got Teaneck, you got Tenafly, you got Demarest. And Coach Al Coleman has put together a very tough schedule for his guys. So, they've been tested and tested and tested. And they are really tough, led by 6'7" Alex Lynn, who's a fabulous senior, and he's their go-to guy. And as we saw during the season, he has made some big shots, including the buzzer beater. They beat Ramsey at the buzzer.
At St. Joe's in that
St.
round
Joe's,
robin.
in that tournament. They also beat St. Mary. And again, very well coached, solid fundamental team, but very physical, very strong, very physical. You're in for a long night when you play the Indians. And tomorrow, again, in a contrast of styles, they will play Bergen Tech at Indian Hills at 2:45. That's the Pascack Valley Indians.
And that's the thing with the Lynn kid. He scored 40. I know he scored 40 once, but he's on the floor, and that ball, is going up. He's a smooth lefty, and he'll keep them in any game they play.
Okay, so that brings us to the number 14, Tenafly Tigers. In the Big North National. Again, that's a real tough division. I just mentioned Pascack Valley's in there, Teaneck's in there. Tough division. They're 8-6 in that division. They won the Garfield tournament. Saw them play a few times down there, including a real nice game that they played and beat Bogota. They've got wins over Pascack Valley and Northern Highlands. They are led by Jeff Kohler, wonderful coach and even a better guy. You want to talk about them since you know them a little bit?
Well, I'll just take Jeff for a minute. Jeff was the girls' coach at Tenafly for some 15 years, had a fabulous career on the girls' side, and has come over. This is, I think, is his third time in the Jamboree. And they have some very strong offensive players in Tony Bonilla and Eric Brashansky, and then Johnny A. I call him Johnny A. because I'm not.
Agbazo.
And they are coming off a thrilling overtime win against Northern Highlands on Tuesday night, which basically propelled them into the tournament. So, and having been at Tenafly for a long time, happy for Jeff and happy that they were able to.
Jeff talked to us when we were there watching games, and he was very happy that we're doing a lot of these games and so forth. Super nice young man, and good luck to him to have tremendous career in coaching.
That's going to be, also that's for us who are ex-coaches and who love game. You got two coaches there, Chris Gaskin and Jeff Kohler, they do it the right way.
Correct.
They do it the right way. That's the Ridgefield Park Tenafly Tigers game at Bergen Field tomorrow at noon.
And they're good buddies, too. And I think one thing that Paul can attest to over the years, when you grow close to your the coach who's on the other bench, and all the rest of the time you're hugging and shaking hands and so forth, but for about 2 hours you looking to just beat them up, and then the game ends and you shake hands and you're back to being buddies again. But that's the way Jeff and Chris will be tomorrow.
That's the essence of sport.
It's your
Well, you would hope so.
Yes, you would.
Inside the lines.
You would hope so. That's the way.
I
it is.
hope. I'm always hope. Hope springs eternal.
Number 13 is St. Mary's Gales, 11-3, and undefeated in the North Jersey Interscholastic Conference Meadowlands Division. They're in first place. They're on. They're a fun team led by Brian Gassione, who's played at Rutherford, and I had the pleasure of working with Brian when he was a player back in the day, and he does a fabulous job on the sidelines. St. Mary's plays a real tough schedule. They beat, for example, they played an independent game, Christ the King from Newark. They're 2-2 against Jamboree teams, including a split with Riverdale. And they have Nick Boyd, who's a real good guard. They have Colin Highland, who's another good ball handler. And then they have the big guy, Mark Datica. And the Datica name, of course, has been around the county for a long time. Matter of fact, his uncle is one of the assistant coaches, Kyle Datica. And Mark is going to play at FDU.
He's going to go to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Committed to go play Division I at FDU. And Mark Datica, by the way, came into this season with 1,200 something
Correct.
wins.
He's over 2,000, I believe now. Right?
Well, he's on his way. He's on pace to break their athletic director and former coach's St. Mary's record.
Yeah.
Matt Stone has got the St. Mary record, and it looks like if Mark keeps up this pace, that he will become the leading scorer in the history of St. Mary's, which of course goes back quite a few years. So they're a lot of fun to watch. Their guards are real exciting, penetrate, and then of course they have a fabulous big guy who could score from anywhere. And they will play New Milford at Bergen Catholic tomorrow at 2:45, which, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be a real nice matchup of bigs. It's going to be a challenge for the New Milford bigs, who are very good, to play against Mark Datica. Number 12, the Ramsey Rams, led by Kevin McGuire. And Ramsey's been pretty good lately. They've been making some appearances and some big noise in the county. They have John Carroll, Sean Hansen, and Kevin Mullane are their big-time players, and those guys are 6'3", 6'8", and 6'6", respectively. It's a lot of size around the county these days, and when you have a team that has several guys that not only are big, but they can play. They can really play. They can shoot. They can shoot the three. We saw them at Ramapo College in the tournament there at the beginning of the season. And Ramsey has got all the weapons. They got the inside game. They got the shooters, and they also have real good defense. And Kevin has them moving in the right direction. They are 4-4 against Jamboree teams. And they will play Lodi at 11 o'clock at Indian Hills tomorrow. Okay, number 11 for local fans, the Westwood Cardinals. John Michael Santulli, who's another one of the coaches who has an opportunity to coach his son, Michael Ray, who's 6'3", senior at Westwood. They are 13-2 going in. I think they lost last night, right? Yeah. So they're 13.
They did have a tough loss last night.
3. They were undefeated in the Big North Patriot Division. John Michael runs a very deliberate, patient offense. They make very few mistakes. They are extremely fundamental. They force you to play, as some of these other teams we mentioned, force you to play defense for a long time at each possession. You really got to work hard, and if you don't, then they will hit the open shot, and then you're going to find yourself on the short end of the score, which 13 of his opponents have found themselves. They have, besides the aforementioned Michael Ray Santulli, they feature Dylan Cipolla, a 5'11 junior, Colin Liddy, 5'11 senior, and Joe Kramer, the 6'5 senior. And they will play Well, I also like to mention they're 6-3 against Jamboree teams, and they lost to one of those 3 losses was to Bogota in overtime. So they've got a nice resume against Jamboree teams. And they will play Rutherford tomorrow, 12:45 at Bergen Catholic.
You know, I've had the pleasure of seeing John's team a couple of times. The game against Ramsey, at Ramsey, and one of the notes that I wrote down is that they're just tenacious on defense and they play 84 feet. They just were in the Ramsey kids' grill from the moment the ball was inbounded and made it really tough. I think as Paul has mentioned, you know, teams that defend make it really difficult on the offensive players to get any kind of rhythm or get into any kind of a flow, and that's really what they hang their hat on. So, again, a great matchup for them tomorrow.
Okay, so now we're down to the final 10. Number 10, Dwight Morrow Maroon Raiders, Englewood High School, as some folks call them. They are 9-6 overall. They are 5-0 in the Big North American, led by Leo Jones, who, as we've said many times now, is coaching his alma mater. At our meeting the other night, this was discussed often about how matching up against Dwight Morrow is a nightmare for a lot of teams because they play at an extremely high speed. They're all over the court. It seems that when they go to the bench, they still have the same energy and the same athleticism. Drew Tyre, George Garrison IV, Owen Roberts are some of their feature players, but they have a lot. They have a lot. And Leo is doing a great job and has them moving in the right direction. And we were talking so often that's going to be a real tough matchup if they have to play Dwight Morrow. And then when we had to move some teams around, okay, now we've got to flip this team because they played already. And with that team, now they're going to have to play Dwight Morrow, and they're not going to be happy. But, you know, that's the tournament. You know, everybody here is a good team. There's nobody in this tournament that doesn't deserve to be here. They are 3-5 versus Jamboree teams. They had 3 overtimes lost to Ramapo.
Tough game. Last weekend I saw them at Hackensack.
2 or 3
in the,
overtime
Mel
loss.
Henderson Classic, and yes, they went to double overtime against Ramapo. Really had the game almost in their pocket, but credit to Ramapo. They stuck in there in the last 30 seconds, scored 6 points in 30 seconds to send it into overtime and hung on to win. But, you know, Owen is a great player to watch, fun player to watch, another smooth lefty, something about left-handers. And, you know, he's a fun kid to watch play.
One of my favorite names, Martini Martin.
Yeah.
Martini Martin, yeah.
I love that name.
Yeah, when I first looked at that, I was wondering if I had it backwards.
Martini, you think?
Yeah, Martini Martin, number 1.
His middle name is Dry. Martini.
You guys are so.
Martini Martin's a good shot.
And the Maroon Raiders will play the Elmwood Park Crusaders tomorrow at 10:30 at Bergen Field, which again kicks off our tournament, starts our tournament. Number 9, the Dwight Englewood Bulldogs, led by one of the nicest gentlemen in coaching in probably the whole state, and that's Bob Rudolph. Bob is such a wonderful man, and he is so knowledgeable about basketball, and he's taken over for the last couple of years at Dwight Englewood, and last year Dwight Englewood made it to the quarters. They won their first and second round games. They got to the quarterfinals. And they are in first place in the NJIC Liberty Division, undefeated at 7-0. They're 10-5 overall. They beat Pascack Valley. They beat St. Joe's. They beat Dwight Morrow. They beat New Milford. They also played Don Bosco, and they also played St. Benedict. So they're not afraid to go out and play some really, really good teams. Overall, they're 4-4 against Jamboree teams. They feature Antonio DeBellis, a 5'11 senior, but also Jordan McCoy, who's a really, really good player at 6'5", and he's a junior.
Yeah.
Solid player. Fun to watch.
D1 player. D1 player.
Yeah, most likely. He's been a star, and now he's coming in.
The best thing about watching Jordan play is he's really not he's a very unselfish player. He at times I think he could probably take the team and put it on his back, and he's just as happy
One game.
to dish and to give it up. But he's had some big games.
He had 38 points
Yeah.
to one game.
He's
and
had some big games.
I
He
think
can
last
play.
year we mentioned the point that he's one of the kids that we spotted where the game comes to him. He doesn't try to take the game
Correct.
over. He lets the game come to him, and he plays under control. And when he has to shoot, he shoots. And when he doesn't have to shoot, he dishes off. And we've seen him since he was in the 8th grade.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
We saw him in rec ball, and we could see there he was something special.
They will play Mo at 1 o'clock tomorrow at Indian Hills, which, again, should be a real nice game because it's a contrast of styles kind of game.
And again, those basketball junkies that have been around for a while will see another familiar face on that Dwight Englewood bench, and that's Gerald Akeridge, who's one of the assistant coaches, the former Dwight Morrow head coach.
And one of the classy guys
Yep,
in
absolutely.
the history of Bergen County basketball, Gerald Akeridge. Okay, number 8 is the Northern Valley Demarest Norsemen, 11-3, 4-1, led by Joe Dionisio, who's had a lot of success in the county, and they're in the Big North National, which we mentioned before is a tough division. They lost to Teaneck. And again, in that division, you got to play every night. You got to bring in every game. They won 8 in a row, and they have a real solid senior group who we took note of as freshmen. They made a deep run into the freshman county tournament 4 years ago, led by Austin Alberici and Jake Runyon. Jake's 6'5", Austin is 6-foot guard. And Joe does a wonderful, wonderful job. Very knowledgeable basketball man, member of the State Coaches Hall of Fame. And they are 4-3 against Jamboree teams. And the Norsemen will play against Lyndhurst at Bergen Field tomorrow at 1:45.
And again, you mentioned Alberici, much like Estevez and the Wingfield from Ramapo. Great football seasons, and again, they've kind of carried it over, leading their respective basketball teams again.
Remember that game that Dionisio had, 27-25?
Against
he used
Teaneck.
Syracuse, against Teaneck. He used Syracuse zone defense, and it probably saved his job at that point. They beat them and won.
Talk about a grinding game that was.
Oh.
27-25.
That was a grinding game.
Did they lift the ball out of the basket?
I tell you what,
after
I
every
couldn't believe the
It was
defense.
The basket was covered, and they.
We were playing tiddlywink, she and I on the side. We had nothing else to do.
And I forget Curtis March was just sitting there throwing his hands off, shot after shot. And a couple of times he didn't know how to go in. He just looked at it. So that's
One of-
games we remember over the years.
One of the greatest defensive games. You can go to sleep.
2 words, shot clock. 2 words for you.
You got that right.
Yep.
Well, that'll be
All
an
right.
interesting change if it ever comes to New Jersey. Okay, so now we're down to the final 7, and these are the teams that will not play this weekend. These are the teams that have a bye. That's a big point of discussion with the committee. Which teams get the first round off. We have a lot of discussion about that. A lot of thought goes into that. And number 7 is the Ridgewood Maroons, led by Mike Troy, who's done a great job for the last few years. They are in 3rd place in the Freedom Division of the Big North, behind Hackensack and Ramapo. They're 10-4, 3-2 overall in that division. Interesting little side note: Mike has a really solid staff of all former head coaches: Jim Ponchak, Kevin Kirkby, and Joe Delbuno. So there's 3 assistants who all were head coaches and have a lot of success behind them. They have some size. They have solid guard play. There's a reason why they're in the top 7. Michael Schroeder, 6'7" senior, is a real solid big player, smooth and aggressive rebounder. Tommy Carver, 5'9" senior guard. Ridgewood is very, 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 very good. And if anybody's going to crack into those top and get to that semifinals, it could be the Ridgewood Maroons. They have a first-round bye, and will play the winner of Dwight Morrow and Elmwood Park. And they are 5-3 versus Jamboree teams. Ridgewood Maroons.
Saw Ridgewood play a couple of weeks ago against Northern Highlands, and Carver had an unbelievable first quarter, and a couple of his three-pointers were 2 dribbles over half court. I thought I was watching Woodridge play from a couple of years ago, because they just brought the ball over half court, 2-3 dribbles. It had to be 38 feet from the basket, bang. So again, a fun team to watch.
Or Nurse from Teaneck. As
There you go.
he's yelling,
That
no,
that
good,
Wood-
yeah.
Ed's right. That Woodridge team was something to
Yes.
watch. Now, talk about a shot clock. They didn't. All they
Oh,
needed
no,
was
that wouldn't
10
apply.
seconds.
Seconds,
Wouldn't
4
apply.
5
Wouldn't apply.
seconds.
Wouldn't
They were
apply them.
shooting
They got the
38 feet, 35 feet.
10-second shot.
I'll tell you, Eddie Renzio from Woodridge is now at Waldwick, and give him a couple years, and
We're going to have the same
you're going to
same,
be seeing that
same
up
system.
at the Warriors. He's
Oh, I look forward to
working
that.
real hard. It's his first year at Waldwick, and he lives in Waldwick, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does things there. Obviously, my allegiance to the Waldwick Warriors. Okay, and number 6, the only undefeated team in the county is the Cresskill Cougars at 14-0 overall and 9-0 in the NJIC Patriot Division. In the tournament, they have beaten Bogota, they beat Tenafly, they beat Demorest, they beat Dwight Englewood, and they beat everybody else that they played. The coach is first-year coach Dan Agaro, who played for Marty Rivard. Marty Rivard, the winningest coach in Bergen County history, and Dan learned very well when he was there. He's a great young man. I had the pleasure of sitting with him. Ed and I both did.
Yep.
We sat and scouted
Garfield.
a game over at Garfield. And he has got the Cougars flying high. They are playing real tough defense. They have some real solid players. Wellington Ventura, Luka Radovich, 6'4", 6'4", seniors. And in the tradition of Cresskill, they are extremely solid at fundamentals. They all can shoot the ball. They all play good, tough, hard-nosed defense. And, after Marty left and Mike Dodo took over, Cresskill won 20 games every year. And now that Dan Agro, they're well on their way to winning 20 games again. It's just plug them in, and Cresskill wins. They're a real fun team to watch, too, especially if you're a basketball junkie and you appreciate good fundamental basketball. And they will play the winner of Westwood and Rutherford, which, again, that should be a good game. Number 6, the Cresskill Cougars.
And certainly the Cresskill basketball tradition lives with Dan. The one thing you will see a significant difference is the animation on the bench. You all remember Coach Rivard and Coach Dodo. Coach Egro was decidedly different than.
He just sits. And
Oh, he doesn't
relaxes.
sit.
he doesn't
no,
sit.
no, he doesn't
He
sit.
doesn't sit.
But there's a little bit of a different approach on the sideline. I mean, he has his kids playing as
hard
Paul
as
said,
ever.
as hard as ever, and doing it the same way. He's just a little bit different on the sideline than what we're used to seeing on the Cresskill bench.
Which just, emphasizes the point that there's no one way to do it. There's a lot of different ways to be successful. Okay, that brings us to number 5, the Rampo Raiders, 13-2 and 4-1. They're in second place in the Freedom Division. Again, extremely tough division. Led by Joey Sandberg, of course, and Joey has his dad on the bench. He also has Jim Ring on the bench. Jim Ring, longtime coach at Kennedy, longtime successful coach at Kennedy High School. Jim's a great guy, and it just seems that there's a lot of famous names on the bench, or not on the bench, on the floor for Rampo. He's got Casey Hunt, whose dad was a great player and a great coach. He's got Jason Oppler, whose dad was a great official. Max Pernetti, whose dad was a great player there. Actually, his dad played on the team that lost to Bogota when Bogota won their first championship in '89 or '90 with Pat Sullivan and those guys. And also John Woolley is a really good shooter. But Ramapo, they just have player after player after player after player who pick you up full court man to man, and they just get in your face and you can't breathe. It goes back to the old line from from Hoosiers, what kind of gum, I want to know what kind of gum he's chewing, and when they come off the court, they can tell you what kind of gum their opponent was chewing because they're right in their face. The Raiders beat Dwight Morrow, they beat Tenafly, they beat Demarest, they beat Ridgewood. They lost twice this year. Both times they lost to Hackensack. So the Raiders are a handful and have as good a chance as anybody to move on to the semifinals. And they will play the winner of Ramsey and Lodi. That's the Ramapo Raiders. Down to the top, or the 4 top seeds in the tournament. And these is pretty traditional, okay? Number 4, the Teaneck Highwaymen. 11-4, 5-0. Again, led by Jerome Smart, who's a 4-time Jamboree champion coach. They are in the Big North National Division. They're in first place in that division. They split with Hackensack, and that loss to Hackensack is their only loss in Bergen County. They beat everybody else they played from Bergen County. They beat Demarest, they beat Tenafly, they beat Pascagoula Valley. They also beat, if you go out of the county, they beat a very strong Pope John team from Sussex County, and they beat Northeast Eastside as one of the top teams in the state. And of course, they feature, it seems like he's been in the tournament 6 or 7 years now, is Jaquai James, who just lights it up. He's been lighting it up since he was a freshman. And he can move like lightning, and he hits a spot and he goes straight up and sticks a 3 from anywhere.
He's in that 2,000-point shooter.
Yeah, he could score
become
against
the
anybody
highest, right?
from anywhere.
Probably.
And Jerome has a lot of other good players out there that complement Jaquai James, and you better be ready to run when you play against Teaneck because they're flying, and shooting, and having played them, or seen them play, I should say, you can't turn around. If you got the ball, you can't relax for a second. They'll take it right away from you, and you won't even know it's gone until they're putting the ball in the basket at the other end. They will play the winner of St. Mary's and New Milford, the Teaneck Highwaymen. Hackensack Comets, Aaron Taylor's squad is 13-3. They are 5-0, and they are first place in their Big North Division, the Freedom Division. As we said, they've got 2 wins over Teaneck. Not too bad. I'm sorry. They split with Teaneck. Sorry, my mistake. They split with Teaneck, and they are, traditionally one of the best teams that's ever played in the Jamboree. You go back to the early 50s, and then pretty much every year since the early 50s, they have been there as a contender for the championship. They beat Ramapo, they beat Ridgewood, they beat Dwight Morrow, they beat Northern Highlands, they beat Pascagoula Valley, they beat St. Joe. I mean, it's just unbelievable how they roll through, and they play an extremely difficult schedule. They're led by Atiba Taylor, senior, 6'4", one of the most exciting players in Bergen County. Again, could score from anywhere. And B.J. Saliba, who's a 6'4" senior, don't leave him alone. Don't leave him open because he'll stick it to you also. They play the winner of Ridgefield Park and Tenafly. That's Hackensack Comets. Down to the final 2. Number 2, last year's champs, the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen, led by Kevin DeVario. And what's to say about Don Bosco? They're one of the best teams in the state. Last year, Don Bosco had arguably the best season in the history of Bergen County boys basketball. They won the Jamboree. They went all the way to the state finals. We've never had that. We've never had a team win the Jamboree and get all the way to the state finals. They are 13-2 overall. They are 3-1 in the United, one of the toughest divisions in the state. They're in second place. Again, the returning champs. If you haven't seen it, it was on Twitter from Varsity Aces. They lost at the buzzer to Bergen Catholic at Bergen Catholic. They lost to a strong team out of Maryland for their 2 losses. They have fabulous starters and fabulous depth. Marcellus Earlington has decided, I think, to play basketball.
He is focusing on basketball.
College, but he's gotten tremendous D1 offers to play football. He's 6'6" senior. Ronald Harper, a 6'6" senior.
Who was committed to Rutgers.
Who was committed to Rutgers, and a tremendous, talented bench for Kevin DeVario. Little shout out to Scott Moody and brother Jim Wygant, who have been on the bench there for this, Kevin's fabulous run all of these years, leading Bosco to championship after championship and final after final. They beat Ridgewood and Dwight Englewood, and they will play the winner of Pascack Valley and Bergen Tech.
And finally,
yay, finally. The Bergen Catholic Crusaders, led by former Bergen Catholic player Billy Armstrong. How many times have we said that? And I probably missed 4 or 5 coaches who are back at their alma mater. I apologize to those guys. Bergen Catholic, 13-1 overall, 4-0 in the United. They're in first place. Their one loss is to state powerhouse Linden. As we said, they beat Don Bosco at the buzzer, jumper by Zona. Matt Zona is only a 6'8" sophomore who can shoot the 3 and is big and strong and can go to the basket and can handle the ball. Miles Wilmoth is a 6'8" junior who I believe is the one that plays the point on your defense.
He does.
6'8".
Good luck bringing the ball over half court.
Out front of your defense, 6'8", out front of your defense, athletic, long arms. His sister was a star over at IHA, Jordan. Doug Edert, 6'3", junior. Zachary Fremantle, 6'8", junior. I mean, if you look at if they play a 1-3-1, you got 6'8", 6'8", 6'8". And
6'8" with speed.
some colleges don't have that.
And they can. You're absolutely right. And they could play. They can run up and down the floor. I'm going to throw a little shout out to Billy's JV coach Timmy Smith, who's a Waldwick guy, and they are basketball. These guys are on top of everything that's going on with the game. So not only do they have the athletes, not only do they have the size, but they also have the smarts. And that makes for a team that we think, the Jamboree Committee thinks, is the number 1 seed. So there it is, the 61st edition of the Oscar F. Thompson Memorial Jamboree. First tournament played in 1951. There was a few years where we didn't have this tournament, but looks like we got as good a field as we ever had.
I think you do, and I think you've got games there, like that first round tomorrow. You're going to see games that are really going to be interested to go see these teams. I think the committee did a wonderful job putting this all together. Ida had the 25 teams up that you mentioned. So tomorrow, which would be Saturday, there's going to be games played at Bergen Catholic, Indian Hills, and Bergen Field. Ida has the games up there. It's a little difficult for me to read. It's so far away. But at Bergen Catholic, 11 o'clock, you have Bogota and Riverdale. And we have, then after that, you got Rutherford, Westwood. And culminating 2:30, New Milford, St. Mary's. Then at Bergen Field, you have Elmwood Park versus Dwight Morrow, Richfield Park, Tenafly. And then you have Demarest at Lyndhurst. That's going to be at 1:45. And games at Indian Hills, Lodi and Ramsey. You can take a few looks at these. Then you got Marwa at Dwight Englewood and Pascack Valley at Bergen Tech, ending at 2:45. Then the following week on Saturday, the 3rd of February, you'll be playing both at Northern Highlands and at Tenafly.
Correct.
All the games will be there. It won't be a Super Bowl Sunday games, so you'll have 8 games in those, and the times will be determined by you guys. Will have your times.
We'll announce those times and sites either Sunday or Monday after we see the results from tomorrow, and we get together with the girls tournament chairman Mike Weaver and try to work it out so that we don't have any conflicts.
Right.
Again, we're talking about shout-outs here, but you mentioned the sites. Again, we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our athletic directors and all of their associated personnel at those host schools, and that's Tom Curry at Bergenfield, Jack McGovern at Bergen Catholic, Lorenzo Barata up at Indian Hills. Those are our 3 sites for tomorrow. And then on next Saturday, on the 3rd, we've got Joe Corolla at Tenafly and Bob Williams at Northern Highlands. And then the week following, when we moved to Fairleigh Dickinson, again, we need to thank Greg Horrenda, the head men's basketball coach at Fairleigh Dickinson, his longtime assistant, Bruce Hamburger, who is absolutely with us every step of the way. Kathy Liggett, the assistant athletic director in charge of facilities, and Dave Miles, who is the head of security. We just could not make it there without.
And you can see it on the screen right now as you're talking.
The 9th and 10th, just a little comment about we had to get away from our traditional schedule. FDU is so wonderful to us, and everybody loves playing there, and Larry loves saying the road to Rothman, so we want to keep that up. But due to their television schedule with their teams, the men's team and the women's team down there, we had to make the adjustment and get away from a 4-game Sunday quarterfinal to go to 2 Friday and 2 Saturday, and that pushed back the Tenafly games to Saturday to accommodate. We're trying to make it as easy as possible as we can on the coaches, because they have the limitations on how many games they could play each week, etc.
Right, and then you go back Sunday to the 18th, which will be the semifinals, and then Friday night, the 23rd, 4 weeks from tonight, we have the finals of the Jamboree. So you guys did an excellent job. Commended all of you on the committee. You're here, but I know the committee all got together. You all work extremely hard, and we look forward to covering these games. We'll be up at the Northern Highlands with Bob Williams and the big chair sitting in the back and sitting there for 4 games. So I want to thank you for coming. We have our schools outside, Bergen Catholic and Westwood. They've been waiting. But before you go, John and I, just the first chance we had to thank you for giving us an award that is very, very special to us, the Bollman Award. You were very tricky last year by keeping it a secret, and you caught us by surprise, and we never got a chance to thank all of you, the committee, for an honor that I have the plaque on the wall, and every time I go in there, I shake my head, and my wife put up all the names of the winners, and I read the names, and I just shake my head, and I say to myself, I'm so lucky to be part of this. And so it's not that one night, it's been the whole year. I've been looking at it and shaking my head. Thank you so very much. And John, you want to say something?
We were both without words, and that's the first time in the history of our lives that we could not say a word. I was ready for tears.
We're happy that we brought you to tears.
And just to let the viewers know that the Howard H. Bollerman Award is given to contribution to Bergen County boys basketball, and we didn't think of anybody who deserved it more than what you guys have done for the last 25 years.
Absolutely.
Covering our tournament, promoting our coaches and our athletes in the schools. And you guys are the best. It's so much fun, and it's rewarding to work with you guys.
In all the sports that we do, the Jamboree for us is the closest thing to us. We love it.
These people here, all of them are part of WCTV.
Exactly.
And they asked in October, the Jamboree, I said, well, it's probably the same. They'll give us the time. And they asked for, thank you. I'm only very, very happy that there was a long pause from the time we got it and you came across the court to give it to us until the ball was tipped, because we weren't ready to go.
We were not ready to go.
Thank you so very much. It's the first chance we had to thank you.
Well,
all right, so if you stay tuned, we're going to show the 1994 championship game for the Bergen County Jamboree while we bring in the 2 schools, Bergen Catholic with their players and Westwood with theirs. So watch that, and we'll be right back as we say goodbye to Ed and Paul. Norton comes out of that with the rebound. And it's knocked out of bounds.
That was a nice job by Kevin Wennerstein.
Well, Bergen won the championship in 1989. They lost to Bogota in the finals in 1990. They won it in 1991. They won it in 1992. Last year, Bogota beat them in the semifinals. They're going to win it again in 94. And this should be the 529th win for Chris Donfield, most in Bergen County.
Tremendous job. And you can see, very under control coach. Doesn't get up much. When he gets up, though, you better run.
Eric Kwan tries one from downtown. And it goes right to Armstrong. Pucci. into out of
Nothing but
bounds.
ball.
Nothing but ball. Went into Rob Moore. And now everybody's coming in. That's just great. Where you try to get every kid you can into the game. As the crowd for Bergen stands.
Look at Chris Donfield clapping for Mr. Armstrong that time. Beautiful job.
For Bergen, number 35.
And then we have a foul, a push here on number 22,
Craig Moody.
Joe Pucci. And I think Moody fouled him. And
Yeah,
Pucci
Moody-
will go to the line.
John Pucci hit first. Check that.
That's Craig Moody a second. That's the first mistake Harold has made all night.
Number 11, Rich Marion in the game for the Maroons.
Rich Marion, number 11 for Ridgewood's coming in.
1-1.
Pucci will go to the line. Pucci's a senior, misses it. Graham comes out with it. We're under the minute mark. Graham to Moody to Graham. And it's taken by Moody. Goes in. Neville lays it up and in. Ben Neville.
That's Ben's first basket for the
Yeah,
day.
he was quiet. I was going to say just before you mentioned that. Very quiet
He
game
stepped
tonight.
up in the semis.
Yes, he played a great game.
I think I had him 17 points.
Merrick throws the ball looking for number 20, Niza, and that was thrown away. So we have 30 seconds to go in this county championship, and this will come to an end. 1994, Jamboree will end.
Make sure everybody stays with us when we pick the MVP
Oh,
in Washington Township, WCTV.
yeah, we have our own, don't we?
Sure.
Moody goes in.
We're not going to give anybody a scholarship, though, $1,000 to the school.
No. I think Mr. Wenzel will kill us, the mayor of Washington Township.
Could you imagine if we started giving $1,000? We don't have $1,000. We'll have to pick one for each team.
Rich Marion fouled, number 22, John Pucci. Barrett Copel, number 23, is in for Ridgewood.
Moody went out with 20 points. Joe Jackson gave one heck of an effort tonight, playing with 2 sprained ankles. 3 points for the senior.
Remember, I mentioned this very quickly, John, as timeout. Ridgewood here was unseeded, and they made it to the finals. Some gutty performances against Ramapo. I think we have our sheet here. Against Ramapo they beat, and then they won last week with Hackensack. As the ball was banging around the last seconds of the game. And no good. The final shot was made by number 20, Joe Ziza. And the game comes to an end with Bergen Catholic Crusaders winning 62 to 45. So Bergen Catholic defeated Ramsey back on February 4th, 95-45. Then they beat Bogota 68-56. They beat St. Joe's last week 69-59. And today they won 62-45 over a very tough, determined, strong Ridgewood team. Both teams should be very, very proud of themselves for what they did. Ridgewood for putting up a great effort. Bergen, the talent was there and it came out.
All right, we got the tough situation. We got to pick the MVP for both teams.
Well, we're going to let the staff talk about that. John, let's go over just very quickly here how Ridgewood got. We want to thank Paul Pugliese and Kramer. Hey, Kramer, we thank them for coming on and going through the 25 and teams. Right now we have 2 of the 25 teams that are going to be playing in the Jamboree. Over my left shoulder is the Bergen Catholic Crusaders, and the Cardinals of Westwood are here, and their coaches are here, Billy Armstrong and John Michael Santulli. Coach and players, we want to thank you for taking time out. I know it's very difficult. You're practicing. You have a game tomorrow. I don't know if you have a game, but you're getting ready. Yeah, you're playing Sunday. Well, we'll start with you, since you were number one. You're the number 1 seed. Your team has played very well. Talk a little about your team and your strengths.
Our guys are doing a really good job. I think their number 1 strength, honestly, is that they come to practice every day and work as hard as they possibly can. I'm very fortunate to coach talented kids, but they have tremendously high character, and then they allow me to yell at them, which sometimes kids today don't allow you to coach them and yell at them, so they allow me to do that. So I think that's their preparation and how hard they work each day is kind of our biggest strength.
Coach, your team, the strength of your team. We did your Dumont game, and it's a very tenacious team. Like, it's almost nose to nose. We're going to be with you, but I don't want to take it away from you. You tell us.
Well, as you can see, the strength if you look at the Bergen team in Westwood, you can see the strength of our team is our size. That's our strength. Our strength is, we play together. Our guys really, really play together. They're very unselfish. They have great pride in playing on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, they believe in one another and they share the basketball. So, our strength is our group and our unselfishness for one another.
Now, both of you have a very good record. Was there a point in the year as you were starting, when you started the first practices, the scrimmage, maybe the first week or two, both of you are going to answer the same question, where you said, you know what, this team really has something special? Was there a game, a play, a time, or did you feel it from the minute you went on the court, Bill?
Honestly, I kind of saw it during our summer workouts and summer leagues and things. I thought it was going to be a really special group, to be honest with you. Just some of the things that I saw in terms of their toughness, their talented kids. So I really thought they'd be a special group, but that doesn't always translate into wins. So I didn't know if it would translate into wins, but I definitely thought it'd be a special group. And it really started back in the summer. Some of the tough games that we had, and kids, did a really good job. We were successful and everything. So, like I said, I didn't know if it would translate into wins, but I definitely thought it'd be a special group.
Let me just add something before we go to Westwood. We walk in the same area. We're neighbors. And the one day I was walking, he comes over to me. He says, John, we really have a special group of guys. You won't believe it. I have young people. They're going to be starters. I enjoy it. They're excellent players. They're playing together. And I'm really looking forward to this year. So this is from a coach. So whatever he says to you, he's soft. He's like me. We're soft. We cry. But you were right on target. And you look at the size of these young men. Excellent.
Coach?
I would say some of the same things that Coach Armstrong said. I started really believing in this group during the summer. We had a tough finish to last year, and the kids kind of dedicated themselves to improvement over the summer. Really, really worked hard. Showed right away a commitment to the way we play over the summer. And again, like Coach said, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate, to wins. For us, even our style of play too, we're not the kind of team that is going to blow anybody out. But I saw during the summer a commitment, again, to our unselfish style of play, a commitment to playing defense, and I knew that would give us a chance to be really, really competitive. I didn't know if that would mean the record that we have, but I knew that we have a chance to win every night. And it's kind of showed itself that way.
I don't know if this means anything. I hear people talk about it, people like the reporters. We don't consider ourselves reporters, but they'll say a game you played last year you may have lost motivates you for the next year. You had an outstanding team last year. And if the people don't remember, you lost the sectional game was tied on a 3-point play from mid-court. And you guys played your heart out. And I think you went double overtime. Did that give you impetus coming forward with the kids that you had coming back to say, we got to get back there and you're that good?
I don't know. They should maybe answer that question. I don't want to speak for them. I would say that there's no question that dealing with something like that, which every guy here was on that team. Like they said, that does make you tougher. That does make you stronger. Because I don't think for any of us, I think we'd be lying if we said that that situation isn't burning somewhere in us every time we take the court. I mean, I know like every time in a game someone throws up a half-court shot, our entire team thinks it's going in when the opponent throws it up. It is a little bit of a reminder. So I don't know if that was, the impetus, but certainly I think getting that close and that starts a little fire that burns.
You just had a wonderful year. You had a wonderful run, and to lose, I mean, someone's got to lose. It's a tough loss, and sometimes they say it can motivate you the following year. You came out with a very good record. You got a good record now. Maybe that did it. I was always wondering if that's true. And Coach Armstrong, last year we were doing the final game, and I think I mentioned on television. I looked up, and it was 5.5 seconds to go. And the score was tied between you and Don Bosco. And I said to John, they've played 2 games, and they're 5 seconds away from the 3rd game, and the score is tied. What kind of an emotional roller coaster you went on during that final game at the Jamboree?
I think it's something that, I mean, we kind of expect it. You know, it doesn't matter if it's like the county final or regular season game. I mean, Don Bosco, everybody knows, is like our biggest rivalry. So, and we just kind of know that those rivalry games, I mean, they're going to be difficult, challenging games and stuff. So I don't know if it was much of a roller coaster. We kind of knew what we were getting into. And then obviously, added that they're very talented and they're very good. But the experience that we had last year, I don't know if it's really, I mean, I don't want to speak for my players either, but I don't know if it's really motivated us. From my perspective, like our players, I'm very fortunate. They're very self-motivated players. But I will say that a lot of the kids that were, on our team this year went through the process that we went through last year. So I do think that experience helped them, and they kind of learned from it. We're still a pretty young team. But they don't really act young. They don't act young in those situations and things. So yeah, I mean, we expected kind of going into the games with them, even if we were playing outside somewhere at the park and it's like Bergen, Boston, it's going to be like that.
I was always wondering. I hear coaches always talk about that, and I always like to ask coaches if that's just what they're saying or if there's any truth to that. And I'm getting an answer from very slow. I ask a lot of coaches, and I'm getting the answers you guys are giving me from most coaches there. Then we're going to talk to some of the players. Then we'll come back to you. Now, you have a microphone and you have a microphone. So what we're going to do is you're going to go this way, and what you do is you hand the microphone down, and then when you're finished here, we'll start you and you'll go this way, okay? We'll do it that way. All right, so look at that camera right there. He's got the camera real high. Give us your name and your position right here, right?
Over here.
Oh, him? Oh, okay, they want you on him. I'm
there it
sorry. Oh, well. All right, so look right there. There you go. All right, give us your name and your grade. Give us your height, too.
Yeah, the height.
And your
yeah.
position. Go ahead.
Miles Wilmeth, and I'm a junior small forward for Bergen Catholic.
And your height?
Oh, 6'9".
6'9".
Was that small forward?
Yeah.
Small forward.
It's the position, Larry, they play.
This year, Miles, what game do you consider to be, right now, coming up, the game that you enjoyed the most and you think you played very well in?
For me, I think the Christ the King game we played at home was a pretty fun game because we played as a team, and the second half we came out with a fire that, like, I don't know, we all as a team just played together, played strong, and we showed a lot of fight that most teams don't have, and I enjoyed that.
Very good. So you're getting ready for the Jamboree now, huh? You don't play till next week, so you got a week to get ready for the Jamboree. You looking forward to it?
Yes, I'm looking forward to the Jamboree, and I know all my teammates are, and very excited for that.
Got a question, John? All right, we can move it down. John's got the first question for you. Be careful. Give us your name. What did I say? Your name, your height, and your position, and your grade, and your social. No, go ahead. Right over here.
My name is Jason Earl. I'm 6'4", junior.
Oh, you're a small one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Junior at Bergen Catholic. So, yeah.
What's the position you like to play? At the guard or the shooting guard or the?
I like kind of both. Like combo guard. I guess I could say my favorite is shooting guard.
What about on defense? Do you like defense?
Love defense.
Love defense.
Yeah.
What do you like to play? Any kind of man-to-man defense?
Man to man is my favorite. Running on the ball, yeah.
He looks like
very close.
Huh?
You play?
Mm-hmm.
we say in the pants? No, not that close.
Not that far.
You don't tell the coach. You don't tell the coach. I want to play man for man. He'll tell you what to play, right? How about zone? You like playing zone?
Yeah, they're all fun.
You'll play anything as long as you play, right?
Yep.
You got a good shot? Be careful, because I'm doing all the games now.
I guess you could say it's all right.
Very good. All right, move down. You know the routine now, right?
Yes, I got
Go
it.
ahead. All right, very good.
I'm Jalen Leach, 6'3" junior guard, and I'm a combo guard.
Well, you rather play? Are you happier on defense or are you happier on offense?
And it don't matter to me. I love getting stops, so I love, I guess, defense.
You just want to play. Tell
Yeah.
coach, I want to be there all the time.
What game this year that you think was a very important game that you had a lot of enjoyment?
I'm gonna say the Bosco game. You know, we were up big in the beginning, but you know, we fought hard towards the end, and Matt hit a great shot at the end. So I was just happy that we got the win.
You got the win against Bosco, and that was a standing room only crowd, right?
Yes.
You know how much of a standing room only crowd it was? I got there 5:45, and they wouldn't let me in the parking lot. I think they sent me all the way down to Oradell Avenue to park the car. That's how crowded it was. It was a packed house. Well, congratulations. I will move down one more. Your name, class, grade, size, position?
Probably 6'8", I bet.
Yeah, what are you?
Yeah, I'm 6'8".
6'8"? Yeah. I think you're all 6'8". We'll just say 6'8".
6'8",
Go ahead.
I'll-
Give us your name.
My name is Zach Fremantle. I'm a junior forward.
Now, Zach, you're the young man who hit the three-point play at Bergen Catholic about a week ago against Don Bosco
No,
to win the
no,
game.
no, that was-
Right?
that was
you?
Zona.
Was that you or Zona?
that
was Matt. That was Matt. Matt,
Sorry, I had the
save
wrong
that
guy.
question. That's your question.
We'll get to you later.
We're going to ask that question.
Okay. That was a packed house there at Bergen. Do you like playing in a big crowd like that? Does it make you stir those juices up?
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to play when there's a lot of people there.
Yeah. What's your best game that you played?
Best game?
That you enjoyed, or you thought you played one game, or maybe there's not. They were all about the same.
I mean, the most fun was probably versus Don Bosco.
You
It
had
was
that, huh? Yeah.
It was a big
Were you
game.
guarding Marcellus in that game when you go man-to-man? Did you have the pleasure of guarding him?
Yeah.
He says the pleasure. All right. Very good. Move down next. Name?
I'm Doug Etter. I'm a junior guard, combo guard.
Size, height, by 6'3"?
Oh, 6'2".
I made you, the hair made you look a
Yeah, a
little
little bigger,
6'3".
like
Make
6'2" with my hair.
What about you? The game that you played that you thought was very good?
Don Bosco was an overall great game for us. It was a lot of fun. There were so many people there, and I love playing in front of a big crowd. And we had so much energy because, like, especially losing to them by 1 and 2 championships, and then coming back to play the first time this year with our new team, we were all excited and we were ready. And I felt like we played very well.
They're great. They're going great.
But how did you feel when you lost, let's say, that lead, that 15, 16-point lead,
Oh,
and all of
yeah.
a sudden you
Everybody's-
have the Don Bosco movement coming in, and coach is probably saying, here we go again. They're going to get that final shot on us.
Nah, everybody's like getting a little nervous, but like I already knew that we were gonna like pick it up in the second half. Like I knew that it wasn't gonna be a blowout, so obviously it was gonna be a close game. But I knew that we were there before in like close game situations, and we were prepared and we executed very well.
Very nice. Very good. Now, give the microphone to the man who I missed. First of all, I have to apologize. I got the names mixed up. Well, give us your name and your height and your position. I think we all know who you are after I blew the last one. But go ahead.
I'm Matt Zona. I'm a 6'8" forward, sophomore.
Now, you're the one that hit the three-point shot. Say yes, please, or I'm really going to have to leave.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. What was the play? What did you see? And
well, coach called a timeout right before that when we ran our baseline out of bounds, and Doug came off for my screen and made a great play and gave me the ball, and I got a good look.
You had a good look at it.
Yes.
You knew it was going in when it left your fingers?
It felt good.
It felt good going in. It felt good. That's great. That's great. That has to be the best game so far this year, right? You don't get better than that, did you?
I think all of our games were very good this year.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I mean,
Very good.
every game we come out really and just gave it everything.
But see, if
I
you
think.
guys don't start winning game better, he's going to lose more hair. You guys, every time you play Don Bosco, you might as well wait till the last shot. Or someone holds the ball.
That a great time. Congratulations, it's a great game, a great shot. You guys played a very hard game. You might see them again, so you never know down the road. You're going to see them again in regular season, right? You have to
Yes.
play them one more time up there.
February 6th, we go up there.
You go up there, and then you're going to get them again. You might get them again later on during the end of the Jamboree. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out, okay?
right.
So good luck. Now we'll start with the West. You got a microphone? Who's got the mic? Oh, all right. I know who you are anyway, but some people don't know who you are. Tell everybody who you are, your height, and your year.
Hi, I'm Joe Kramer. I'm 6'5", senior center.
And you're the center. You're the one that the ball comes in, you throw it out,
Yes.
and you try to hit the open man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? Tell everybody what I should tell you on the football field. What did I tell you all the time on football?
Well, I punt, so you used to tell me to punt it as high as I can.
Try as hard as high.
Yep.
And where are you? Where you going next year?
I'm going to Dartmouth to
Very
play
good,
football.
Dartmouth.
Mhm.
You have a game. I asked them all the same question. You have a game that stands out in your mind that you really enjoyed?
I would say opening night because it was Mawa, and they kept us out of the Jamboree last year, so we kind of had a chip on our shoulder. So it was great to win that one.
Yeah, Coach, my wife was talking to the girls, the soccer team last week, and they were saying Mawa's becoming like a school where Westwood has that's their main rivalry. I always thought it might have been Riverdale, but they said Mawa. I asked a few people, is Mawa one of your top schools you play? Big rivalry?
They're a big rival of ours in all sports. We've met them in, obviously we play them twice a year in basketball and all sports in the league. They've played each other. We've played each other a few times in football and state championship games. We played last year 3 times. We also played in the state tournament last year, and we beat them in the states. So in all the sports, Mawa's. Riverdale's a big rival as well, but Mawa's really become a
It's
heated
getting
rivalry.
there. It's really getting there. Yeah, but I was surprised. All right, hand it over to our 1,000-point scorer, and he could tell us his name and his position, and then we'll cross-examine him.
My name's Colin Liddy. I'm a senior guard, and yeah.
Over 1,000 points.
And you have 1,000 points.
1,000 points, right?
I'm 5'11".
Oh, 5, okay. Now, let me, when you scored that 1,000-point, what was it? Was it a long jump shot? Was it one of your patented drives? What was it?
It was a long jump shot. 3.
How many feet? Make it up if you have to.
It's like 3 feet behind the 2-point line.
All right, very good. Did you know when it went in, you knew you had the 1,000?
Yeah, I did.
Did they? Okay,
It
very
felt good, right? It really felt good.
Felt really good.
On the release.
Yeah.
So are you where are you going next year?
Not sure yet.
Not yet. Want to play again? Want to play in
We'll
college?
see. Yeah, we'll see.
It's 4 years at Westwood playing, and you did very, very well.
Thank
and
you.
played very well for 4 years. You did a great job. Congratulations on 1,000 point.
Thanks.
You want to say anything to Mr. Liddy's 1,000?
No, he's got a great smile.
Yeah, look at him.
What are
Yeah,
you going to be
keep
doing
going.
when you grow up?
We'll see.
You got that look?
Going television. Yeah.
For television, sure, announcer.
All right, go ahead. Your name, position?
Nick Navarro, 6'4", forward.
What's your game that you think that you...
I'm gonna have to say Riverdale because it's just came out in their court, it's packed gym, we just played good.
You know, I was doing the girls' basketball game, and you were coming back, and you played with, and I asked your coach, how was he? He goes, that was a good win. Remember we had that conversation? And why was that a good win? Because you said to me, boy, that was a good win.
Oh, it was on the road. It was Riverdale. It's been, I think, 2 years since we've beaten them in basketball. We were down at halftime. We played great defense in the second half, and for us to win at Riverdale, it's kind of like these guys with Bosco. And I think it also helped our guys believe a little bit about that we could have a good year. It was a huge win.
And could I add just one thing?
Sure.
You beat David Estevez. He's a great player.
Who's that? Estevez?
Estevez.
What number do we call him?
What number?
What's that? He's just number one.
Just number one.
Just refer to him as number one.
He's a young man that I always say, he's 5'9", let's say, or 5'8", 5'9". Well, I take his size and I take the 6'8" guy that doesn't play well, and I make him 6'8", and I make the other guy 5'9".
Yeah.
Great player.
Because he
great
plays with his heart.
Yeah.
And to me, any size, if this young man would be about 6'4",
Plays a lot
6'5",
bigger than his
yeah.
size.
He
Yes.
does. He does. Okay, Dave. You may pass it down. Name.
I'm Michael Ray Santulli, senior, 6'3", small forward.
Name sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, I recognize the name. What was a game that you enjoyed the best?
Look at that.
The game I enjoyed the most was definitely Pascack Hills at home, second game of the year, because I've had not great relations with Pascack Hills for pretty much my whole life, and to beat them by over 20 points, that was a really good feeling.
Do you discuss basketball at home, or that's off limits?
Sometimes,
So
very
just-
rarely.
Very rarely. There's a combined, like we don't. When you sit at the table, you don't discuss dinner table. You don't
No.
discuss, different formations and.
We'll have to ask Coach.
Nah.
Coach, is he telling the truth?
He's telling the truth.
Okay.
We try not to talk about basketball at all at home.
It's the right way to do it. As a dad with a son or daughter, you don't bring it home. On the way to school, you talk and so forth. That's got to be the
On
way
the way
to
to
go.
on the way to school, on the way home from school, in school.
In school.
All right, pass it down. There you go. You guys are doing a great job passing it down. A name?
My name is
this camera right here.
My name is Sam Waldinger. I'm 5'11". I'm a senior and I'm a shooting guard.
A shooting guard.
Yes.
See, everybody said guard. Shooting guard.
Well, he hangs around with Liddy.
What was your game that you liked the best?
I'm gonna have to agree with them right here. Definitely Pascack Hills was one of the best games because they always had our number in the past, and this time we just came out and stuck it to them.
Very good. Yeah.
They have that set offense that they run all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody falls asleep and coach yells, how come you missed that? The guy had a layup.
They always do a great. They always do a great job with their system. So Pascack Hills. Where are you going to go next year?
Not sure yet.
Haven't decided. Okay.
No, not sure.
Very good. One more. The last one. Last of the Mohegans.
I'm Luke Osteros. I'm a 6'3" senior, and I play power forward.
Power forward. Okay, very good. Now, a game that you thought that was very well, or you played very well, or a shot that you had in the game?
I think the Riverdale game was a lot of fun to be involved in. It was just a really close game, and we just grinded out the win and started the season 3-0.
Okay. John, anything?
Now, right now, I'm tired. You tired?
Just the last question. With the Jamboree coming in, you also have your regular scheduled games. Do you do anything different, Coach Armstrong, in preparing, or everything is the same?
No, we really kind of stick to our same routine. It makes me feel kind of comfortable. So our practices, our shoot-arounds, our pregame, all the stuff is exactly the same. I think just being consistent and keeping the consistency is a big part of, hopefully being successable. And then it makes, I think, myself and our players just feel comfortable when we go through our routine.
Okay. Coach, same thing with you? Or?
We're going to eat bagels tomorrow. We don't usually do that. No, we stick to the routine, the same, basically. When we have opportunities for walkthroughs, like on weekends, we'll do that. So we'll get up tomorrow, we'll have a walkthrough, and we'll go over there and give it our best shot.
You try to keep everything the same, everything normal, don't change anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I always get the same answer. I don't know why I asked that question. Well, we're doing the same. We don't change. We don't do anything. Is an early game ever bother you? If you had to play like 10, 11 o'clock, would you think that would affect any one of you? You, Coach, would you?
No, I don't think so.
I know Coach March, we used to be for Teaneck. He used to tell me all the time, I don't like to. I think he didn't want to get up.
I coached with Coach March for 5 years. Our guys didn't like the 10 o'clock a.m. games. Coach March and I were fine with them. Our players didn't like it.
The kids didn't want to play, right?
Bergen used to like to play us at 10 in the morning.
How about you? You like playing? You guys like playing 10 in the morning?
I do prefer like the evening games, but I don't think it really matters. Once the kind of ball's thrown up, it's still basketball.
Your objective, both of you, for the season, what were your objective before the season? What did you want to achieve at the end of the season with this team?
Quite honestly, we don't talk too much about long-term goals. We talk about being the best team we can be every day, be the best teammate we can be every day, and then on game days we say we try to go 1-0. That's really basic philosophy for us.
Do you bring, let's say, the game that happened last year, and making sure that we work on some of these things to prevent something like that to happen again, and do you bring that up? Let's say the last game you had.
You love bringing that game up.
No, we're not bringing it again. I'm going to bring it. Forget that.
Listen, like I said before, there's losses, and Coach talked about the rivalry with Bosco. And then, that's from an athletic standpoint, that's kind of like a life-changing experience. Okay. Like someone said to me, it happens, Coach. And I said, actually, no, it's never happened in a state sectional final. No. Someone threw it in from half court. So, we haven't really talked about it a lot. But like I said before, I'd be lying if that wasn't burning in us somewhere.
Okay.
How about you, Billy?
Well, I want to thank you for taking. I understand how difficult it is with the practices, and you have a game, and you guys have games tomorrow to come here. I want to thank you for taking time out. It's really, really nice to come up here and talk with us. And I know that tomorrow you have a game and you're getting ready for Saturday. It's for Sunday, you said. So thank you all, and thank all you guys for coming up here and taking time. I wish you all the luck. We'll be there. We'll be at all these games to cover them, and we hope that you guys go as deep as you can get into the game and give us some great thrills. John, final word?
No, I hope both of you win. In your case, you'd like to win the Jamboree, you'd like to win the state. But no, every one of you guys are playing tremendous, and you got great coaches, and the future is there for both schools.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. We had the preview for the Jamboree, the 2018 Jamboree. It all starts tomorrow. It's on our website. It'll be in the papers. They start tomorrow at Bergen Catholic, Indian Hills, and Bergenfield, and then next Saturday we have the round of 16 up at Northern Highlands in Tenafly, and then from then on we're at FDU. So for the entire gang, for doing the show, for Paul Pugliese, Ed Crowmer, the co-chairman of the committee, for Coach Santulli and Coach Armstrong and their wonderful players. This is Larry Fury for John Francola saying we hope you love this show. We did doing it, and we'll see you next week. Check our website for all the coverage of the 2018 Jamboree. Good night, everybody.
Y'all ready for this? Ready for this?